engaging the community since 1970. This is WIS Awareness.
Good Sunday morning, and thanks for joining us for WIS Awareness. I'm your host, Leland Pinder, and my guest today is Dr. Rashad Anderson. Dr. Anderson earned his undergraduate degree from South Carolina State University in Orangeburg in music education, and he holds a master's of music education from USC and a PhD in education foundations and inquiry from USC as well. He currently works as an assistant professor of teacher education at South Carolina State University, and in addition to being accomplished academically and professionally, he can now also add author to his biography. He recently published this book, What's Up with All the Black Boys Sitting in the Principal's Office. You can find it on Amazon. Is it in stores?
Amazon.
It's only on Amazon, so check it out there if you can. The book examines a lot of issues talking about young black men in public schools, and this particular book, the setting is right here in South Carolina. So we're going to talk about some of his research and the experiences you were able to document with these young men. But first of all, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. So this book, it's about 115, 20 pages, and what a read it was. I was honestly, as I read it, quite surprised to hear of some of the things that young black men and students were experiencing in elementary school in 3rd and 4th grade, and 5th grade as well. So just to begin, tell us about how you decided to write this book, why you decided to write this book, and the research you were able to conduct to present what you have here.
So for me, I didn't go into this book with the intent of I'm going to write a book. I was more inspired to do so. So I was an elementary school teacher, and I became quite surprised how normalized it was in reality of teaching, how suspensions of black males were so ignored at a rate, how we could go to the principal's office at any point throughout the day and you would see a litany of black males there sitting waiting to be seen by the principal. And it became such a normalized culture for me of why this issue wasn't being addressed. So I felt the need that I needed to add a voice to this conversation. I think the conversation about the achievement gap for black males have been going on for decades in our country. And so for me, this book was an opportunity to add to this national conversation about addressing the issues of black male education in our society. I know we often hear so much from teachers and principals and other education professionals about really what are the issues about it. But I think that we're leaving the most important voice out of the conversation, and that's the voice of the students themselves, particularly elementary age black males, because we know that most issues with black males start in elementary. We call this the 4th grade syndrome. Dr. Kanjufu, he coined this term, that most black males typically in the 4th grade tend to have academic and behavior issues in the 4th grade. So for me, I really wanted to investigate what was going on at the elementary age so that I can have people be reflexive about decisions and practices so that we can kind of curb those things before they get to the high school level.
So we'll kind of go through the book in chapters in our show today.
Okay.
One thing you talk about toward the beginning is counterproductive school practices and a silent crisis. First of all, what are these counterproductive practices?
So I list a lot of these counterproductive practices in the chapter. Some of them, like excessive use of worksheets and packets for busy work, control of body movement throughout the day, having silence throughout the day. You can't speak or talk, and definitely habitual conflict with substitute teachers. So those are just some of the counterproductive school practices that I investigated throughout the study that wasn't very helpful at all.
The one that interested me the most was about controlling body movement. You know, kids are kids. They need to get up and stretch and move around. But oftentimes there's an over discipline of young black males in schools where they're told to sit still, don't move, sit down, and that has an effect on the students.
Yeah. So I'm a professor. I teach human growth and development. And one of the things that I tell my pre-service teachers is I teach them about learning modalities. We know that there are 4 learning modalities. They're visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile. We know that boys tend to be more kinesthetic and tactile learners, meaning that they like to move and they like to touch things. But what we have, this culture in schools, is that most of our schools are wired towards visual and auditory learners. So that means that if your learning modality is kinesthetic and tactile, that you need to move in order to learn, that you need to touch things in order to learn, you're already counted out from the beginning, even how you're wired, because our schools are not made for people who like to move. The schools are not wired for kids that like to touch and manipulate things, because we expect kids, very young kids, to come and sit down, don't move and don't talk for about 7 to 8 hours a day. And this is where the conflict comes into.
In the silent crisis, it talks about the disproportionate referrals of black males to the principal's office or having to go and sit outside in the hallway for typically some really minor things, but that are magnified by teachers and other administrators that aren't magnified for other groups of students, and made to be really big deals when they're not. Why is that a problem?
Because black males are adultified. When you look at their peers who are getting into the same issues and the same problems, we look at this as, oh, boys will be boys, or this is just childlike behavior. But there's this phenomenon when it comes to black males in education in which their actions are adultified, that it was intentional, that this is something that will be indicative of a thug-like, a criminalistic type of mindset in the future. And so there's this need from teachers of all race to go ahead and curb these characteristics to stop the inclination that possibly in the future that this child will come and be a detriment to our society. And it's this unique phenomenon with black males that typically does not happen with other ethnicities in the school.
Or even black females.
Yes, absolutely, because we know that black females are also experiencing a lot of woes, the school-to-prison pipeline as well.
Okay, we'll pause right there. Detrimental teacher interactions and specific acts of marginalization toward black males. When we come back, talking about Dr. Anderson's book, What's Up with All the Black Boys Sitting in the Principal's Office.
Accidents are never the same. It's different for everybody. No matter who you are, we're here for you. George St. Injury Lawyers makes it easy to face your problems when you've been hurt on the highway or on the job. Just call all nines now. 999-9999.
You got your homework?
Yeah.
Yeah? Hey.
What's the role of a car company? To take your kids to and from school?
Don't forget your science project.
We think it can be something bigger.
Everybody take your seats. Today we're going to...
This summer, Volkswagen is supporting America's teachers. Visit your VW dealer to learn how you can join in. Now during the Volkswagen Drive Bigger event, get a $1,000 purchase bonus on 2019 Jetta, Tiguan, and select Atlas models.
If you or a loved one has been neglected in a nursing home, call the Anastapula Law Firm now. We've helped with bed sores, falls, and even deaths. To get your attorney, dial all twos. What's that number? All twos.
When does an opportunity become a golden opportunity? When a forward-thinking safety system and peace of mind meet exceptional offers. Don't miss your golden opportunity to experience our most advanced safety technology now at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Lease the 2020 NX300 for $377 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Dorian is now a major hurricane, but where will it go next, and will it affect South Carolina? The WIS First Alert Weather Team is tracking the storm and will be on air on all your mobile devices until the threat is over.
Depend on the minute and the WIS First Alert Weather Team.
When you're hurt in an accident, you need someone you can trust, who can get results. Call George St. Injury Lawyers at all nines. George St. Injury Lawyers has experience helping people just like you. If you've been hurt in a car wreck or on the job, call all nines. We'll take care of the rest.
Welcome back this morning to WIS Awareness. Sitting here with Dr. Rashad Anderson, an assistant professor at South Carolina State University, and talking about the book he recently wrote and published, What's Up with All the Black Boys Sitting in the Principal's Office. Moving on to another part of the book, I hate that time is so limited, but you talk about detrimental teacher interactions and specific acts of marginalization at school. So starting with that first topic there, I want to read a quote here talking about constant monitoring and surveillance. So in some of the research you did, you cite here, it says, furthermore, the use of intense surveillance methods is a component of a larger, more complex problem called the school-to-prison pipeline that disproportionately affects black males than any other demographic in our nation. So you hear it all the time in elementary school. That's when you know if a student probably what their trajectory might be in life. You get ideas of that. The school-to-prison pipeline that really possibly starts here, and these teacher interactions can play a big role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about the school-to-prison pipeline, for some people it may be a shocker that this actually is a reality. But what we mean when we say the school-to-prison pipeline is because these students are going through these situations in school and having these turbulent experiences with teachers in which they feel like school is not a place for me. Mm-hmm. And we see small infractions magnified into these big type of situations. And so literally we're pushing out students out of school, and we're saying that you're a thug and you're a criminal, and so many times I've been told those microaggressions over and over and over again. Without school and education for a young person, what are they going to do out in the streets? Mm-hmm. And they often fall by the wayside. And so this is what we mean by this school-to-prison pipeline.
When I was reading it, it seemed to me the subjects that you studied, the students, and based your research on, it seemed like the kids wanted to learn, had the capacity to learn, of course, mm-hmm. and they're perfectly capable. But because of some of these interactions, whether knowing or unknowing by the teacher, that gave them a negative view and impact of school and made them not want to be there. So it wasn't really so much about the learning process or the academics. It was about those social interactions with their teachers that made school unenjoyable for them, and that could possibly stick with them in the future. Yeah,
because there's an old saying that students don't care how much you know, they care how much you care about them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that old adage means relationship is everything. And so having a great relationship with your students is definitely important. And particularly for these young students of color who are driven, relationship-based, all students are. I mean, it was the make or break.
In the book, you talk about, you're not 100% placing any kind of blame on schools or teachers for whatever issues that might exist in the population, but there certainly is a correlation in many cases. Talk about, there was one instance where the teachers were getting on the boys about sagging pants. Mm-hmm. And to the boys, they didn't think their pants were saggy. One young man said he gets his pants from his older brother. Yeah. And his older brother's bigger than him. Maybe they can't afford new clothes all the time. So for the teacher to put disciplinary actions in place for having saggy pants, go to the office because you won't pull your pants up, etc. And to the kid, he's like, I don't know what's going on. At home, this is fine, but at school, I get in so much trouble for this.
Yes, it's because we have to stop criminalizing youth behavior. So all teachers are required to take a course of learning about the learning theories for teachers. One of those is Eric Erickson's psychosocial development. And one of the specific things it says that when a child is going into adolescence, they have identity versus role confusion, meaning that they are adopting and doing things at their peers in order to fit in. Mm-hmm. It's perfectly normal. And so you often will find even pictures of our parents and maybe yourself when you were in high school mm-hmm. with clothes that you don't look like you would wear right now and doing things you don't look like now. It's because we do things that when we are young to fit in with the crowd. So instead of criminalizing it and saying you're going to be a thug because you're sagging your pants and your trajectory is off, we need to educate. We need to say there's a time for code switching. There's a time when you dress such like this and there's a time that you're not. And we don't take into account into poverty, like that student said, who didn't have the money to buy clothes that fit. You know, poverty is an underlying issue here too. What happens with the kid that is given clothes from someone else and the pants are too baggy and they don't fit?
Yeah.
We don't take that into thought.
And that's all they have. They can't help that. Talk to me about, gosh, I struggled with this too. Is it hegemony? No, not
hegemony.
Hegemony.
Yes, hegemony. Big word that I learned in grad school.
And this talks about those specific acts of marginalization toward black males. What's this about?
So hegemony is this big word in which you have a dominant class that projects a message or image or idea about the subordinate class so well that the subordinate class internalizes and acts upon it. And so there are different levels of dominant class. We know that there's racism, there's ageism, we have ability, even with sexual orientation. So there's always a dominant and a subordinate class. So in this context, when we talk about hegemony, we see that this text is not just for teachers that do not look like the students that they teach. This is not about targeting the majority of teachers in our country, which are white females, because this book reformed my teaching as well. Sometimes when I talk about hegemony, I was one of those teachers that pressed about the sagging pants. I was enforcing it. I was punishing students behind it too. But when I look back at my yearbook picture, I had baggy clothes. I had this baggy suit and a hat on. And look at me now. I failed to realize that had a teacher did me like how I was doing some of my students, I would have spent more time in the principal's office than a classroom. And
real quickly, talk more about that again in the book. A lot of the teachers that were imposing this discipline on the kids for having clothes that didn't fit were black female teachers.
Correct.
In other cases, it was typically white female teachers that were having issues and sending kids to the office. But concerning the dress, it was black women that were punishing kids for that.
Absolutely. And so those black female teachers, they felt like that society was already hard enough. A lot of these students attended the same church that the teachers were at. They knew these kids. They grew up in the same communities. They knew their families. And so when they see the sagging pants, they knew of cases in the neighborhood of students that looked like this that turned out to be really bad. And so when they saw these boys, they said, man, we really got to attack this behavior because we've seen this before. And so particularly the black female teachers were even tougher about the sagging pants than the white female teachers in the school. And what I had to do was sit back and listen to the voices of the students. Right, we want our students with the ability to be able to dress up in a shirt and tie because we know that this attire is this cultural capital that brings power and respect. We understand that. But in the same sense that it does not mean by the way that you look that you are a criminal. We see this in the broader society now, which is why we have Trayvon Martin cases. Because just about how you look doesn't mean that you're going to go and be a thug.
That's right. I'll stop you right there. Coming up next, solutions identified in the book in Dr. Anderson's research.
If you come to Burlington just to buy a coat, here's what you're missing.
Great fitting jeans.
Tons of boots.
My favorite brands. So much for the home. Makeup.
The latest fashions.
I love the brands. I love the savings.
Hello, Burlington. Bye-bye, Coat Factory.
Uh-oh. Looks like someone's still nervous about buying a new house.
Is it that obvious?
Yes, it is. You know, maybe you'd worry less if you got Geico to help with your homeowner's insurance.
I didn't know Geico helps with homeowners insurance.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years. What are you doing? Big Steve?
Thanks, man.
There he is.
Get to know Geico and see how much you could save on homeowners and renters insurance.
I'm looking at that truck. Wow.
That's awesome.
This Labor Day, everyone's excited about Chevrolet.
Oh, wow.
They're all really cool cars.
Woo, I love it. I can't stop staring at it.
Ride out the summer in a new Chevrolet this Labor Day.
Wow.
It's time to upgrade.
Get 0% financing for 72 months plus $2,000 on all 2019 Silverado double cab pickups. And during the Labor Day sales event, make no monthly payments for 90 days. See your Midlands Chevy dealers today.
You know, some call pimento cheese the caviar of the South.
So why is it being wasted on chips and celery?
Yeah. It's about time pimento cheese got the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
What better way to enjoy melty, cheddary pimento cheese than on the South's best biscuit? A Bojangles fresh buttery biscuit.
Try Bojangles' new pimento cheese biscuit for just $1.69. We made the perfect biscuit perfecter.
Bojangles. It's Bo time, y'all.
How do you know her?
I thought you did.
No.
If you come to Burlington just to buy a coat, here's what you're missing.
Great fitting jeans.
Tons of boots.
My favorite brands. So much for the home. Makeup. The latest fashions.
I love the brands. I love the savings.
Hello, Burlington. Bye-bye Coat Factory.
All right, welcome back this morning again, talking about what's up with all the black boys in the principal's office by Dr. Rashad Anderson. Of course, we're getting a very condensed version of everything that's in this book this morning. So much more we could talk about, but time is limited. So let's go ahead and move on to the last segment here and talk about solutions you've identified and fixes to these issues.
So I don't want to put this prescriptive solution out there and say that this is the one thing that you can do to alleviate all of these problems. I think the very first step that I am trying to do is allow these students' voices to be heard, because I want to build empathy. And after I build empathy, I want teachers to be reflexive about their positionality that they bring into the classroom and the biases maybe that they have. And biases is not necessarily something that is exclusive to any race. We all have different types of biases. I want teachers and I want administrators to be reflexive about the practices and the behaviors that's going on. I think that that's the first step. And then I think that you can find greatness in any student instead of looking at all of the bad. Sure that you may have a student that misbehaves a lot, but you can find something great in every student. And that's what I want to do. I want to influence those teachers to see something positive in those students and magnify that. And so that's kind of one of the first steps into building a solution to this problem that we're seeing nationwide.
And these recommendations that you've come up with in the book, what kind of feedback have you been getting? I'm sure you have some folks who have picked up the book and read it already.
Yeah, so feedback has been great so far. I've been going around the state and the country with this talk for a while now, and the feedback has been really good. I hear often a lot that teachers say, I never thought about that before, that made me think. And so that makes me feel good. So job well done. I pat myself on the back when I hear teachers. Yeah, when I hear teachers say, yeah, I rethought about some of my practices.
Now, tell me, so you actually, the students you interviewed and the research you did for this book was in a rural South Carolina elementary school that you taught at. How was that process getting your administrators, your school district on board to allow you to do this research for this book?
To be open and honest about it, I think that we have to say we want to create a solution to this problem, and we have to be aggressive about we do it. So I just kind of went at it and say, hey, we talk about these issues with the boys all the time. We talk about the achievement gap. Now it's time to actually really do something about it, and I approach the study that way.
Talk about Call Me Mr.
Oh, my goodness. Call Me Mr., my love, my passion. I'm the director of it at SC State. Call Me Mr., South Carolina program that recruits and trains and places more black males into elementary and middle schools across the state. We've expanded outside of South Carolina. We're in 9 other states. And really what Call Me Mr. is we are building revolutionary educators to be in South Carolina classrooms that will, just one Mr. will change the entire culture of a classroom. And so it's a revolution of misters that's already out there doing beautiful things, and we're putting more out there. So, yeah, Call Me Mr., man. We're taking over.
Is there a website or a Facebook page that you have to learn more about the book or the Call Me Mr. program?
Yeah, so on Facebook we have Call Me Mr. page, SCSUCMM, and I'm also on Facebook, Rashad Anderson.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, for coming on this morning. Again, a really great read. The book is called Wassup with All the Black Boys Sitting in the Principal's Office. And if you're an educator, certainly could be helpful to you in your endeavors with your students. We'll be right back here on Awareness.
Hardee's new 2-3 More menu makes breakfast on the go easy. 2 cinnamon and raisin biscuits or a sausage biscuit, $2. Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, $3. Hardy breakfast platter, $4. Because mornings are better on autopilot. Hardee's new 2-3 More menu.
Real steel. Find yours. For the space you've always wanted. This fall, save big on the world's only backpack blower with electric start. Just press a button and go. Find yours at steeldealers.com.
In today's growing economy, you know it's necessary. Businesses are changing and finding the tools, resources, and partnerships to expand and modernize. SCMEP offers numerous services that will help your company advance into the future. Whether you're looking for robotics, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, or cybersecurity, we offer it all. For over 30 years, SCMEP has equipped small and medium-sized manufacturers with the resources to move forward. Make the future yours at SCMEP.org.
School is back in session. This is Car Buying 101 at Galliana Kia on Greystone. 2 2020 Kia Souls, 2 2019 Kia Fortes, or 2 2019 Kia Rios lease for just $222 per month. That's 2 new cars for $222 per month. Select Kia Sorentos and Optimus, $10,000 off. Plus, we'll terminate your current lease or loan, even if you owe $10,000 more than it's worth. At Galliana Kia on Greystone. Call 779-7300 or click GallianaSC.com.
Hardee's new 2-3 More menu makes breakfast simple. 2 cinnamon and raisin biscuits or a sausage biscuit, $2. Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, $3. Hardy breakfast platter, $4. Breakfast isn't rocket science. It's way easier. Hardee's new 2-3 More menu.
Before we go this morning, one last question here. For parents of these young black males of elementary school age, what do you say to them? What's advice for them to kind of keep an eye on things happening at school?
Be involved. I know that a lot of parents are working, and if you ever see a discipline referral, read it, ask questions, get your students' story behind it. Also ask the teachers, go to parent-teacher conferences, but again, get involved because your presence in the school is very helpful. When you're absent, when you are expecting your teachers to make all the decisions for your child, that's when things come out into play. The relationship of a parent in the education of their school is one of the most important puzzles to this whole, pieces to the puzzle, so. Yeah.
All right. Great information. Again, thank you, Dr. Anderson, for coming on the program. Everything we discussed and a whole lot more. Again, time was so condensed today. There's a lot of great stuff in this book. If you want to pick up a copy, head to Amazon and search for it. What's Up with All the Black Boys Sitting in the Principal's Office by Dr. Rashad Anderson. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Thanks for joining us.